Hi, everybody. I'm Susan Honey, and I'm the managing director of the Atlanta chapter of eWomenNetwork. And I want to welcome you to our first member spotlight. And I want to introduce our guest today. This is Helen Panos. And Helen, for those of you who don't know you yet, can you tell us what your business is and where you're based?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me on. I am Helen Panos. I'm the owner of Dynamis Learning. It's a K through 12 tutoring SAT, ACT prep company and executive function. We also do advocacy for families inside of the education system. I was an educator for 25 years, and so I understand the inside workings of a system in Georgia, at least. And so I have 20 tutors that work for me, and we are really 95% virtual now.
Wow. Okay. So we get a sense of the tutoring piece, but tell us in really simple terms what you help other people do or what you're best known for in your space.
I would say because I have the education experience and I was also a 504 chair. That's under, the Americans with Disabilities Act called Section 504 plans. I was able to learn a lot more than just even being a teacher. I was a teacher for the 22 years and of the 25. So I learned a lot more. I used to sit in on the 504 meetings, right? But I wasn't running them. Then I started running them. I also was a gifted lead, so I understand how to get kids in the gifted program, which is also what we do. So if a kid has tried to test in to a system and they can't get eligible for gifted, I'm the person they need to come to.
Mhm.
Also, when we do webinars twice a year about this, so I can give it free information, usually in January and in September. And then also the 504 plans were really eye-opening for me because this is not stuff teachers hear being in the classroom. So you hear more of what the parents are experiencing, and then all the teachers are present in the meeting. So you hear everything they see, then you hear from the parent and what's going on at the house. And now it's quite interesting. You may have a psychologist in the meeting, a social worker in the meeting, the counselor. So I really did learn a lot from being a 504 chair, and I've incorporated all of that into my business.
I love that. So, what makes your approach or the Dynamis learning approach different from other providers in your space?
Well, because I've had that experience, I'm able to look at test scores and a kind of like with a different eye than just a regular teacher. They're really not experienced to really understand. There may be some patterns or gaps that are shown, and I'll usually ask for test scores from parents if they think. Usually, they'll come to me and ask me to to help them get into the gifted program. And then I get in there and I'll come in person the first time and I'm like, well, I think there's a reading gap actually. And so it totally changes the whole dynamics of what we originally went in there to do. And it shifts the entire thing. Then we try to solve the problem, find out what the problem is. It's kind of like going to a doctor and getting a diagnosis. Sometimes they don't know exactly what's wrong with you and they're just trying to figure different things out. But as a tutoring company, we have more time to do that versus a teacher who has 30 in their classroom or even 20 if they're younger. Just recently, yesterday, I had, and 2 days ago, I was in Cobb County with a first grader filling in for one of my tutors. The moms provided me with test scores. I saw that the young girl, and this was an original, can you come in here and help get her in the gifted program? And then
Mm,
I saw there was a problem and she couldn't do what's considered like she can do both say 3 plus 5 equals 8, but she can't do 8 equals 3 plus what? That missing
mm,
digit like that, flipping it around. Plus the subtraction is an issue. So when they just took a test in Cobb, what it showed was she has number sense issues, also geometric spatial relationship issues. My guess is she's going to be ADHD. She's a little too young to diagnose that. But I've had a lot of experience also through my 504 meetings to hear a lot of typical patterns and diagnoses. So I kind of see all the comedy. But so interesting enough, so I actually used AI to help me because I am not an elementary teacher. I'm a middle school teacher. So I said, what would you do with a first grader that has these issues? And how would I teach them better? And they said, do not use worksheets, which is pretty much probably what they're doing in school.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gave me use manipulative so they can see it in different ways. And I said, well, what kind of things would a child this age have in their home? Because I want to use things that they would have in their home. And it was like blocks and cards and money. So stuff like that. And I could do circles or dots. The 10 strips, they're not going to have that in the house. That's
No.
probably more a school thing. So I texted the mom and I said, do you have these things, any of these things? And she said, yes, we have the blocks and we have the what was it? She had the blocks and the cards and the coins. So I had her do it three different ways. And I also had her talk it out loud.
Mm,
Teachers can't do that. I
right.
said, I need you to speak it out loud. What is 8 minus or 20? I had to do a double digit minus a single digit. I said, what is 20 minus 7? I didn't want it to be a 5 or a 10. So she would count down, and when she got down to a 14, she'd skip the 13 and go to 12.
Hmm.
And oddly enough, this happened the next day in Brookhaven in a DeKalb County student. First grader, I had to fill in for a tutor there because he's sick. Everybody's getting the flu. And so it clicked when I personally tutored him this time that that's a very similar situation going on there. She can draw circles nicely and in a row. He cannot. He draws circles in a circle
Hmm.
when he's showing his visual
Hmm.
of 20 circles. And then when he does it, he'll turn the circle and not close it at times and bring it in like it looks like a G.
Oh.
And now when he goes to slash off the 7, 20 minus 7, he's getting all confused because he thinks that's a slash already. So
Oh.
he missed about 4 problems by 1. And so I took a picture of that, talked to the grandfather who was there. I texted the mom and I said, I know what the issue is. I said his brain is working faster than him. He's not closing these circles nicely. I left him homework where he had to. I made him draw the circles in order by this many across, this many down. You got to do it in a column square format. And that's his homework actually is to do that every single day for 10 minutes. And the grandfather's there for the whole week. The parents or grandparents are going to do it with
Hmm.
him because it's really about practice. Me or Frank, my tutor, coming in there once a week is not going to
Oh, well,
fix this
thanks.
problem.
What is a unique service that you offer that no other tutoring company offers?
Well, I would refer to this, what I just explained, as advocacy as
Hmm.
well, because I listen to what a parent is saying to me. And again, even I could take a ninth and 10th grade situation, the same thing, and it's usually they're not studying. They won't do any study skills. They're not taking any notes at school,
Yeah.
and they're paying for a private school, and they're like, well, I'm like, well, this kind of turns into advocacy and executive functioning, actually,
Yeah.
not tutoring. See, they kept insisting to me, well, I think I still need somebody to come in here and show them some study skills. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I need you to speak to my executive functioning tutor. I have 2 now. And I'm like, I need you to listen to her first. And then we'll decide if we think you should also pay for a tutor as well.
Yeah. So
Um,
that really makes Dynamis really unique because not every tutoring company can offer the advocacy services, much less the executive function coaching.
And a lot of tutoring companies are not run by educators. Where are educators found? Behind 4 walls in a classroom, right?
Yeah.
They're usually run by executives who are retired and don't know what to do with their money. So they go and put it in a tutoring company
Yeah.
and they think that this was going to be easy.
Yeah.
And really, gosh, education and tutoring has changed just in the last, I mean, this is my 10th anniversary is actually in January of 26. And
Wow.
I'm counting the very, very part-time that I used to work on it with just one other tutor back then.
Yeah.
So the last 4 years, I might even call 2020 and 21, which was COVID, a year. So I'll just say the last 4 years it's really ramped up, and I have 20 tutors that do different things.
Amazing. That's awesome. All right. So let's shift gears a little bit. You've told us about your couple of examples, the types of tutoring you do, the executive function stuff, all of that. Who is right this minute your ideal client? And what does that client say that would tell us that we need to introduce them to you?
Usually they're battling like an older child, middle to high school. They don't really want to hear from the mom. It sounds like this. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Mhm.
Because they've probably told them multiple times, go do your work. Why are
Sure.
you not studying? You failed this test. Or they forget to even study. They forgot they had a test. There's a lot of ADHD running around, that's for sure, which then usually is coupled with anxiety or something else. It could be ADHD, dyslexia,
Mhm.
ADHD, anxiety. So I'm kind of familiar with knowing there's something going on. And usually, like, we have an eighth grader who is now, he's being tutored by two tutors of mine and the executive function coach now, because their philosophy is we're not going to be holding their hand when they get to high school.
Right.
He needs to start taking independence, take this on himself.
Mhm.
And so a lot of times my executive function coach will speak to the mom and say, okay, hold on. You've done the personality test. He's done the personality test. You now know you can't talk to him like this. It's not going to work. Um, Teachers aren't going to do that in the school. Principals aren't doing that. Assistant principals, even counselors aren't going to do that. They don't do personality tests, right? So then they're like, oh, now I get why this person can't even speak to him at all. It needs to be this one would be a better person for him to relate to. And
Mhm.
now it's more with the executive function coaching and once a week, just getting him to understand, well, they'll give you a little more space and won't hover over you like a helicopter
Yeah.
parent. If you will do this, can you do that for me? It's just
Yeah.
somebody else on the outside coming in and kind of intervening. It's almost like a mediator for divorce court or something, you
Sure.
know?
Yeah.
It's
So what I'm hearing you say is that that starts potentially how I would know to say, oh, you need to talk to Helen is the mom or the dad saying, my kid is failing their classes. They're a high achieving kid, whatever. They ignore me when I say, go do your homework. They don't want to talk about their grades. Those are the kinds of things we need to
Yep.
listen for,
They're
right?
they're gaming a lot. They're on videos more. They notice that. It can be someone that's advanced because they're taking those advanced AP classes
Sure.
too. They need a lot more work. We have a football star. He's got a lot of practice time, so he has to manage his time very tightly if he's going to go into college and get a scholarship, which he's aiming to do.
Right.
So, you know, we're doing executive functioning with him too to
Oh,
help him.
that's a really good sort of adjunct to the other spectrum of what you do. When you have your high achieving kids, sometimes the really high achieving ones are the ones who need the most support,
Mm,
especially if they're overscheduled or they have these commitments or whatever
yep.
it happens to be. So that's helpful. That's really
And
helpful.
there, a lot of these kids are even trying to run businesses,
Yeah,
Susan.
I
He
know.
is. I don't know how he has time. I said to his mom, do you want it to be profitable? We can help him with that, especially this summer.
Yep.
We've done that already with a ninth grader who was trying to start a gymnastics thing at her house because the neighbors wanted her to teach gymnastics to the little kids. So we worked with her on forming a business, like going through how do you get the money? Don't you think you need some insurance?
Yeah. Yeah,
All that.
this is such a good example of why we can't, it's that whole you can't judge a book by its cover kind of thing. Because when I hear tutoring company, that's exactly what I think. But Dynamis is so much more than just a
Hmm.
tutoring company. That's
Yep.
awesome.
It makes me want to think I need to change that.
Well,
Brandy.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know some people who can help you with that. Oh my goodness. All right. So let's change gears and talk about eWomenNetwork because that's why we're here today. So think back to when you first got introduced to eWomen. What did that person say to you? What made it interesting? What drew you into the organization and keeps you here?
Wow, that was a long time ago. I had gone to a meeting that Deborah Daniel was actually the managing director at the time, and Sandra Yancey was coming.
Oh,
That's when I went. Yeah, it was at a hotel off of Holcomb Bridge Road at night, so I was able to attend because I was a teacher. So
right.
I went and I was like, "Yeah, I'm in." You know, she was going around the room after I heard her speak, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm in." And then I asked Deborah, "Are they going to have meetings, at night?" And she goes, "Yeah, I think so. I think we're having meetings at night." But somehow that didn't really, transpire. They did them during the day. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to get out right now because I'm still teaching and I can't go to the meetings, so it's not going to be useful to me. But I always remembered that. And then when I went part-time, now I worked it actually, you probably don't know this. I worked it around mainly with eWomen in my mind that y'all had meetings on Thursdays. So I made sure that when I was part-time, I told my principal, well, I need to come in Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I can't be here on Tuesday and Thursday. Because
Well,
I knew in my head which people I wanted to network with and when their meetings were.
I love that. And that's a huge testimonial, right? Because you know it's the right organization when you're willing to tell your boss, this is how it has to be in order for me to do this other thing,
And I
even
was
if you
lucky
don't
I
say
had
it.
flexibility to
That's
do that, to be
awesome. I
honest.
love
So
that.
then I went full time during COVID in 2020, so I could attend anything I want.
Love it. I love it. All right. So tell us a
And
little.
then I joined CEO Plus because I
Oh,
felt
that's
like
right.
that was more what I needed to do. And that's really, really been, I think, the key. I've
Okay.
missed a
So
couple meetings lately, but I usually try to go back and listen to replays. I'm used to being coached. I was coached even when I first started the business, and I was at school working. I'd take my personal days and go meet up with Fabian Frederickson actually as a coach first in Florida. And then I joined with Monica Shaw, and
mhm.
now Sandra Yancey. And I've
Yeah,
been with her in CEO Plus, I think a year and a half, maybe.
since the very beginning. I think you and Dr. Roz were some of the original members of the CEO Plus community.
Mm, I
So it's
guess it
been
was kind of, yeah, because Dr. Ross would talk about it at the
yeah.
meeting.
Yeah. So for the just for those folks who are maybe not members and aren't familiar with how we do membership at eWomen Network, let me explain this just a little bit. Our primary level of membership is the CEO Plus membership. And with that, in addition to the two meetings that we do per month here in the Atlanta area, the chapter here, there's access to a lot of other corporate level kinds of benefits, such as two coaching sessions a year with our Premier Success coaches, Monday mentoring and coaching with Sandra Yancey, her daughter Brianna Day, and the corporate crew who bring it all together. There are, member discounts. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that happens at that CEO Plus level. Um, so how one of the things that I'm always curious about is how being a CEO Plus member or being a member in general has elevated your business, brought you a new client, something like that. So a success story that you can tie back to eWomen. What do you have for that?
Well, when I was first just a member attending the A&E meetings, I mean, I've met Dr. Ross, and she does similar things to what I do with kids, and then cricket, and just some other people. And people tend to, I get a lot of referrals through Facebook. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups now. Because I'm on Facebook, they tag me when they see other things. They know me, so they're tagging me. That's all a part of networking is,
Mhm.
I mean, other people are tagging me too now because I've been networking for several years, and in different organizations. So that's been helpful there. But when I joined CEO Plus, it's just the whole mindset of the way Sandra and Brianna, especially Sandra, talk about how do you run, how are you a CEO?
Yeah.
And I like, the way she does it. You know what to expect. The first Monday is one thing, the second Monday is another.
Hmm.
Today was the Q&A.
Yeah.
Then there's the connections one at the end of the month. So behind the scenes, all that. So it's very helpful, actually. So I think I've learned a lot because when I try to decide and if I would join again this year, asked my husband's opinion, and he goes, "Well, do you think it's been helpful?" And I said, "Yes," because that's a good way to start your week is with her on Monday morning. And
Yeah.
so I said, I think that has been helpful to me, and I've hit a six-figure year. So he said, then yes, you join it
Hmm.
again.
Yeah. Yeah. I, you know,
It wasn't a difficult decision.
yeah. Well, and I think, I think that's what people need to hear, right? Is that those of us who Sandra says how you start your week is how you end your week, right?
Mhm.
And so when we start our week intentionally leaning into what we do best, first and foremost. I'm a strengths coach, so I need to say it that way. But when we start our week by leaning into what we do best and learning from people who have gone before us, we're much better able to, with speed and fidelity, apply the things that we're learning and that we're good at to grow. So we
Mhm.
get past that stuck point pretty fast when we open ourselves up to this possibility. I start my day with Sandra's
Oh,
card.
I have those too.
Yeah,
They're
so
downstairs.
yeah, and then I have the
And I
journal as
have her
well.
booklet.
Yeah, I have the journal too. And I've gotten in the habit of doing that. And so how I start my day is how I end my day. I start my day thoughtfully and I end my day thoughtfully in gratitude. And so it's kind of like adding structure to the whole week and adding a backbone, if you will, to how I approach what I do. And that's exactly what we heard from you.
And really, it's about, like, I know as an educator, when my principal asked me, "What are you doing that the other teachers are not doing?" And I'd say, A, I go to extra things and learn more. And B, it's about consistency. I apply all of that to I need to show up as much as possible on Monday mornings to hear her live, or I need to commit to listening to the replays.
Yep.
And then you can go back and listen to a bunch of other replays. It doesn't matter if you come into CEO Plus now.
Yeah. I
um,
did that actually when I joined. CEO Plus had been in existence for about 5 months at that point, and I went back and listened to all of them kind of in a podcast style. And it was really helpful because I got a sense of what the organization is all about and how members support one another and how Sandra teaches, which was really important to me because I also come from a teaching background and I wanted it to be something that maybe wasn't familiar to me, but that I knew was sound from a teaching and mentoring perspective. And so yeah, anyway. All right. So let's say, and you did this recently. So the question I'm going to ask here is what would you say to someone who's considering joining? So let's back that up a step. And let's say first, what would you say to somebody you thought would do well in eWomenNetwork, who would benefit from eWomenNetwork? So you've got a couple of
oh,
recent examples of people you've invited into
mhm.
the room. So what did you say to them?
I kind of look at if they, because it takes action, right? So you pretty much have to be willing. I look at the personality as well, like somebody just joined today, right? I could immediately tell he's going to be really good for the group per se, all of us individually.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can gain knowledge not only from Sandra, Brianna, but from each other, that's a win.
Yeah.
So I actually it was my executive function coach that mentioned eWomen first. And I think I
Yeah.
might have briefed he really needs to just jump straight into a CEO plus
Yeah.
because I think he would find the most value out of that.
Yeah, 100%. And then when you're talking with people who are on the fence, say they've come for a couple of visits and they're sort of sitting on the fence of whether to join or not, what do you say then?
Well, come try a meeting out first. And I know you can't just jump onto CEO Plus, but I know they've started a podcast, right?
Yeah.
So maybe I would refer people to the podcast now and let them listen to her for a while. Actually, I don't know if you remember, Sandra used to do these sip and tip talks.
Uh-huh.
And I used to listen to them all the time. That's where I kind of just like, if you can say, fell in love with her. That's where sorry, Sandra. I do have a husband, you do too. Um, so I I just liked her style and I liked the way she was going. And I mean, I was in corporate actually too. So I knew this
One
individual would like,
way that eWomenNetwork, the greater community of eWomenNetwork, can support you right now.
um, I'm thinking, I like it when we're at the end of every meeting. I'm not sure we did this at the back end of this last meeting because we're doing goals. But I like it when you ask at the end for people to stand up and say, how did somebody help you? Um,
Mm,
not that, even if it's not that it got you money, but maybe they connected you to somebody
sure.
else. I mean, I think that's good to give actually praise to that person too. And in return, you're also up there speaking. And so people are paying more attention to you and what your business is by you just doing that.
Yeah,
So I like to see that. I
really
mean, I
all of it. The more consistent we are, the easier things are for us. We attract the right kinds of clients when we're consistent in how we show up. We we do better. We make more money, we keep more money, to use Deborah Daniels' phrasing in that regard, because I actually like how she talks about that. All right, so how can people connect with you after watching this video?
Um, you can go to my website at dynamislearningacademy.com and click on contact, and you can just like there's a box that pops up, and you can just write a note in there and say what you need and what you need help with.
All right, and we'll link to that in the comments below, so we'll have that right in that very first comment, just so everybody can jump right to it. Final thoughts for us today, Helen.
Well, I mean, it really does take, you know, I think everybody needs a coach of some sort. I've always had one actually. So you need to really listen and do what the coaches pretty much tell you to do. You can't do it all at once, and sometimes you're not ready at that moment in your life. I know I've coached with Monica Shaw, and I couldn't do it all at first because I was also teaching while I was coaching with her, and
Mm-hmm.
I was picking up replays and sending calls from her after 4 o'clock when school was closed. But sometimes you just don't have the time. Things happen in your life. You're busy. Family comes first, whatever it is. But always like just come back to it and just keep adding more and more things. And slowly a business is going to grow
Yeah,
when you put effort into it.
what we water grows.
That's right.
Yep. We're filling this one with Sandraisms today.
I know.
I'll have to tag her
Is her
to.
hair burning yet?
I'm sure it is.
Well,
This has been so much fun. I appreciate you taking some time out of your day today. Yes, today is Martin Luther King Day. We will post this, so it'll technically air, if you will, on Thursday of this week. But I appreciate you being with me today and kicking off this series. I'm excited to interview as many of our members as will allow me to do so. And we have another one coming up next week.
all
So
right. And I do want to put a plug in for the summit. See,
do
because
it.
I'm used to going to conferences when I was in corporate America.
Yeah.
So I like longer workshop days or summits. And here comes Sandra. She's going to be here in May in Atlanta.
Yep. So what Helen's talking about there is an all-day event. It's technically from 11 to 3, but we open the doors at 10:15 and we'll stick around till about 3:30. And it's called the Women's Success Summit. And our topic this year is shift. And it's an acronym, and I'm not gonna give anything away. I'll put the registration information below this video as well. And anybody is welcome to attend. It's a very cost-effective way to learn from someone who's built a multi-million-dollar business. And the goal of the Success Summit is to help us do the same if we want to.
And if you remember what I said early on in this, that's how I met her is through a
Yep,
summit actually
yep,
at first.
me too.
There you go.
Yep, it's how a lot of people meet Sandra Yancey. And I think that's the best way to meet her the first time, right? Is
Mm.
see her in action, real action, live and in person. I think it's the best thing. So, well, thank you again, Helen. This has been wonderful, and I greatly
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Would